The Washington, D.C. region SCCA iRacing League has just visited some of the best racetracks in the country, Watkins Glen and Road Atlanta. But this week it's time for something a little bit different. We're here at the Charlotte Roval this evening, and Finian, this place is terrifying because it runs like a street course with the speed of an oval. And the dangers and the hazards here are prominent and basically everywhere around this racetrack.
Yeah, it really is. And you look down on the track, if you notice too, especially in the chicane on the front straightaway, and just looking at the track in general, the lights are on here too. Which you weren't really expecting. You thought this would have been late in the later part of the day, if anything. But if the time stays the same for the race session, it'll be under the lights.
Okay, all right. So we have to before we really get into this, we have to go over a little bit of a caveat tonight because it's going to be very confusing for those that aren't familiar with iRacing's new damage model. There are a few problems with it that haven't really shown their face until this week. These big blue sausage curbs that are all around the chicanes here at the Charlotte Roval pose an issue with the damage model where it basically flings the wheels of the cars off and basically simulates damage that isn't actually happening. It's going to be a problem tonight. It's going to be very distracting. It's going to be very funny looking. But just bear with us because there's nothing we can do on our end to solve that problem. It's just going to look ridiculous. So here we go again. We might see David Stern come across the line, and actually he didn't break it that time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, even in the backstretch chicane, none of his tires did any damage, and we seen guys take it pretty much the same line as him and add more damage to the car. I just found that hilarious because the tire took the corner by itself.
Did a pretty good job too. It was better apex than Kyle Busch can make around here. So 2 minutes left in qualifying. Paul Gibson is on pole. James Hauser in the 75 is second quick. That's a new name here this week. Other drivers on track qualifying at the moment. Chris Shieldsmith in the 44. But let's go over our point standings coming in the night, Finian, because DJ Alessandrini sits at the top of them with 134 points to Ryan Maloney's 122. But DJ's not going to make this race this week, as he said last week. So that totally changes everything. Maloney and Hausiel separated by 1 point as they come into the night.
Yeah, Maloney also taking pretty solid advantage of DJ's absence. Going to be third on the board as they run right now. Still waiting on a few more drivers to put in some times. Although it looks like more or less everyone's kind of happy where they are, have completed all their time laps.
As we come on through, qualifying almost complete here, and a couple other drivers jumping on track. Max King in the 139, he's made his return this week, and he's also been really impressive so far in practice, and we have yet to see what he's going to run in qualifying. I'm not sure he's going to get a lap in. He'll be starting at the tail of the field. We're about 25 cars strong this week, so he's got his work cut out for him.
Yeah, it's a minute and 30 seconds minimum to make a lap around here, so he's really just kind of out here for a little extra practice.
Bit of a slide there on cold tires, and the first couple laps are going to be interesting. Track conditions this evening, nice and cool. We'll go over the conditions when we go to the grid, but it's nighttime here, or almost about to be nighttime, so the visibility is going to go down a bit as you see King slipping and sliding. Nice Tokyo drift there out of the interior of the Roval. So while we have a quiet moment before the chaos begins in a 15 and 20 minute race tonight, we'll remind you that we have a brand new merchandise store up on simtvbroadcasting.com/store, and right now we've got an exclusive limited time offer for a t-shirt and a decal, a vinyl cut decal for $23. And you can get free shipping on that if you join SimTV as a supporter on YouTube, which it will save you some money on the shipping. So very excited about that. Qualifying almost complete, and Paul Gibson currently on pole still. Steve Mahler coming on through to complete his last qualifying lap, and as he comes across the line, it's going to be a 1:37.594, not an improvement, so he will stay 18th quick as qualifying concludes.
Getting ready to line these cars up for the first race of tonight. Slightly smaller order than usual.
Yeah, so this racetrack, because of the damage model issues, and because it's generally a very difficult track to drive, I think some people have opted out of this week. This is not an easy combination. This is going to be very challenging to keep yourself out of trouble tonight.
Yeah, I think we're definitely seeing the result of that here. So we'll line up everyone staggered here for as they all line up on the grid and ready to get behind the pace car for a lap.
Evan Schickel starting pretty deep as well. We'll go over our starting lineup here in just a moment. Khalil Natirbov also starting fairly deep in the field, but it's Paul Gibson on pole in his number 31. And you see the two chicanes. Let's talk about the chicanes around here, Finney, because we got one in the back straightaway and then one on the front straightaway. And both of them are very important to getting a good lap time around here, but you have to be careful not to overuse and abuse those blue curbs.
Yeah, and using also, if you go back to the backstretch again, we're using the new one that was used in 2019 over 2018. which has made it a lot more viable for sports cars and more road racing cars to tackle this track and its configuration. So, and pretty much, I would say, almost mirrors the front stretch chicane, slightly different in some ways.
Yeah, it's a little bit more right angle than the front straightaway. You actually
similar.
compare them. There, you see the red Toyota decal at the very kind of middle right of your screen, and then the bottom right is the backstretch chicane. Both of them very challenging. I think the backstretch chicane is also a hair slower as well.
Yeah.
But again, a nice change from last year's chicane that would have meant certain death for pretty much everybody driving through there.
Yeah, but still, nonetheless, don't take the backstretch chicane for granted. It's still hard to navigate, especially at speed and when you're battling amongst a bunch of cars. And you bet that a lot of guys are definitely going to use that chicane to make a pass. Well, the front stretch chicane to make a pass due to the draft. We've seen a lot of the guys take advantage of the straightaways, which is pretty much the ovals that are going to act as a straightaway.
So conditions for this evening, 77 in the air, 79 on the racetrack. Nice cool skies as the sun sets over the horizon here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And let's roll through our starting grid. On the front row tonight, Paul Gibson in the number 31 alongside James Hauser in the 75. He rolls off second on row 1.
And then moving on back to our second row, it's going to be Ryan Maloney looking to take the points lead tonight. Going to be starting in third. Next to him, Ito Waxman in the 11 car, and he's actually qualified pretty well tonight.
Yeah, really good effort for Waxman in the 11. Fifth place, Ken Steele in the number 23. Lex Kuracek in the 2. A strong effort by him in qualifying tonight. He'll roll off 6th.
And moving back another row, we'll find 7th place, David Alessi in the 34, and then next to him, Mark LeBance in the 4 will be starting in 8th.
In row number 5, Sean Cromwell, the number 1, and Robert Porter in the 136. They share the row, 9th and 10th for those two drivers.
Moving on back to row number 6, we find in 11th place David Stern in the 14 car. He's going to be lining up next to Michael Shea in the 78 in 12th place.
In 13th, Charles Boley in the number 17. Andrew Chow in the 29. He rolls off 14th on the outside of row number 7.
And back in the 15th position, we have Chris Shieldsmith in the 044, which is actually matching up pretty well with Lewis's number in the 44. Just realizing that now. And 16th, Francois Brew in the 69.
Don Manning in the number 92 rolls off 17th tonight. Steve Muller in the 49 rolls off 18th tonight.
And rounding out your last row is going to be Cleona Tierboff in the 19 and 19th place, ironically. And in 20th, Max King in the 139.
Do have a couple more cars, a couple more rows. We're going to let those scroll on the bottom of the screen here. Evan Schickel, 21st tonight, so he's got a lot of work to do. Through the back straightaway chicane. The next time they'll come through here, it'll be at full speed and jumping those blue curbs. Keep yourself out of trouble and avoid those phantom tires as they go bouncing everywhere. Going to be really interesting to see how that all pans out. So, tonight, 15 minutes for race number 1 and 20 minutes for race number 2. The challenging Charlotte Roval here for the Washington, D.C. Region SCCA iRacing League. If you're watching right here on YouTube, make sure to subscribe. If you're watching on Facebook, thank you for joining us, and make sure that you hit like on the Washington, D.C. Region SCCA Facebook page and return for more. We're going to run the GT4, brand new Porsche Cayman GT4 next week at Mid-Ohio, so make sure you join us next Wednesday night. Up at the front, Paul Gibson in the 31 is going to lead them down. Green flag's going to fly right as they make their way through the middle of this chicane. Time to go racing. Green flag flies, and we're racing at the Roval in Charlotte. Oh, car way out wide. It's the 11 car. He's in the heartburn turn wall down in turn number 1. He's going to get rolling again, but drop down the order. That's Ito Waxman. So for all the qualifying effort that he did, he's immediately damaged that race car, and that's going to be, he's got suspension damage on the right rear, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's not the phantom damage you were talking about. That's actual damage to the suspension, so a tough night already in the first turn.
And already, we're seeing how dark it is here. There is no light on the inside of this racetrack, and the visibility is going to be poor, not only for us, but for the drivers as well. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they deal with this as the night goes on. Gibson in the way of James Hauser, who's in second place right now as they enter the oval for the first time.
Yeah, this is where I think a lot of these guys are going to be able to make their passes tonight. Is going through NASCAR turn 1 and 2, and also NASCAR turn 3 and 4. These guys are going to be able to build up quite a big run on one another.
The draft here on the oval going to be extreme. Hauser closes up. I don't think he's close enough to take a look into the braking zone 4. Up the inside, this is a battle for third as they enter the back straightaway chicane.
Yeah, who's guys going to try to outbreak one another, and it looks like Kuracek's going to win that battle for now.
And slot himself into third place. Well done. Khalil Tierboff and Shieldsmith battling for 13th. David Alessi following these two drivers. Guido Waxman back out on the racetrack after the turn 1 collision with the wall, and Baloney and Kurchek side by side again for third.
And they go down into the final chicane, and you see now Maloney going to get that spot back. Whoa!
And again, can't trust our eyes, unfortunately. The other drivers do have to avoid those tires, though. They are a very real hazard, even though they are very fake in terms of the actual condition of the driver's race car. So you can definitely hit those parts and pieces. You got to watch out. Here comes Sean Cromwell on the 1. That's that white car in the middle of the screen as the track gets ever darker every lap.
Yeah, it's getting significantly darker, too. A lot faster than I thought it would.
Actually might take the opportunity here to adjust the color correction.
Yeah, I'm kind of just looking at it. It looks like Cato Seal has started to close back up on Paul Gibson. Now gap went from 0.5 of a second down to 4, and it's going to even close up more as he's well within the draft of Gibson.
Hopefully that helps a little bit, brings the gamma up just so you can see a little bit better around here. Tala Sadiq has crashed, and this is in turn number 5. And let's see, oh, there was a bit of a stack up behind David Alessi, and he's jumped on the brakes to miss it. Wasn't able to completely miss it. Oh, more trouble, and that's Louis Alessi in the 43. He spins. I think Bob Shoemaker might have gotten a piece of that, but I'm not sure. Looks like he might be okay. There's a 7 of Sadiq. Damage to the front wing of that race car. And up at the front, Hausiel is closing on Paul Gibson.
Yeah, this is really going to be the battle for the win here. 4 seconds back between Hausiel and Maloney, so it's pretty much these two guys going at it.
10 minutes left, this time by. And down into the heartburn turn again. This is a really fun racetrack because it drives so much like a street course, but it also can be an exercise in frustration because a little bit of a mistake here will penalize you quite a bit.
I've already seen a few guys definitely pay the price for their mistakes, with Waxman in turn 1. Getting out just a little bit too wide, caught a piece of the wall, had to not retire the car, but tow it back to the pits. He's back out, but I believe a lap or 2 down.
Battle for the lead continues elsewhere in the field. David Alessi and Chris Shieldsmith. This is for 14th on the racetrack. You can see how dark it is really getting for the drivers. I'm actually going to turn off the color correction just so you get a sense of how dark it really is here.
Yeah, that's actually what we're looking at on our monitor, is how dark it is, and same thing for the driver, unless they have their settings turned up. But yeah, a lot harder to see for these guys.
And back out onto the oval. For the lead again, Gibson and Hausiel nose to tail.
Oh, and it looks like Gibson's got some wing damage on the right side of his wing.
Yeah, as he comes back around, take a look at the, a little bit of a shiny part.
Yeah, that tells me that he's been a little too ambitious over one of these curbs. That's dented the wing up.
And into the braking zone. Over the curbs. And continues. 8 minutes and 45 seconds left to go, and Hausiel continues to chase Gibson. Evan Schickel and Charles Bully. This is side by side for 9th place.
And there's, I don't know if that's legit
that's the
or
7 of Tala Sadiq. And, oh, no, that's not. Sorry. That's, might be Mark Levance and the 4. It is Mark Levance.
So he's actually missing the nose on that car because it's not come back.
Charles Bully just went for a big slide. Yeah, generally the errors in the damage model will correct themselves after about 5 seconds.
In Levance's case, that nose is actually gone, so that's a lot of drag to his machine.
Yeah, it's certainly not going to handle as good as it would with the nose on that car. Still following Andrew Chow for 7th and making pretty good time, all things considered.
Yeah, I'm amazed that he lost the nose of the car like that, because typically when you lose the nose like that, that usually means you damaged a lot of other stuff significantly, and that thing's not drivable, but, well, it seems like this. He's actually, the funny thing too, the wing's still on. But the nose isn't.
Sometimes the way you hit things is perplexing in an open wheel car, and here goes Evan Schickel underneath Mark Levance. This is for 8th. You really see him getting hurt on the straightaways with the extra drag he's got on the nose of that car. And Schickel again started at the tail of the field tonight, 21st to 8th in the opening parts of this race, and backing off the brakes here.
Yeah, thought of doing 2 for 1 going to the final backstretch chicane as the 29 is a little bit loose, almost gets into the back end of them.
You have to really protect the nose of these cars because they can be pretty sensitive to damage. And up at the front, still chasing each other, nose to tail, Gibson and Hausiel.
And just over halfway through this race,
going back to 7th place with Schickel, Levance, and Chow. 14 of David Stern misses the chicane, and that is going to be a slowdown penalty. And the nose cone tumbling off that car as well. And considering the way he hit the curb, and you see also the front wing flapping on there as well. So that certainly is hurt. That's going to hurt the top speed and also the downforce on that. These cars don't have a whole lot of downforce, but the little bit that you do have, you don't want to lose.
Yep. Especially through this infield section, it's going to be a lot harder to push this car through its paces.
This is for 4th place. Sean Cromwell is in 5th, chasing down 4th place Robert Porter in the 136. Trying to line him up for a run down the back straightaway here.
Yeah, really, this is where you can take advantage of the run. I'm curious what Porter is going to do to try to keep Cromwell in behind him. Because he's pretty much a sitting duck at this point.
Sitting behind. I don't think he's willing to make the pass just yet. Now he's going to take a look to the inside. Oh, back in line. So
he's going to be patient with this.
Robert Porter started 10th. He's up to 4th and a really good run through the first part of the chicane, but loses some ground on exit. And right behind is Lex Kuracek in the 2 car.
Yeah, Cromwell had probably what I would say probably one of the more perfect line. To back it up on entry and then nail it on exit, and you can see the run he's gained.
Side by side for 4th place. Lex Kuracek watching this battle from behind. Cromwell unable to complete the pass. And actually, it was a very nice. The camber there might have helped him out for a second, but down into the heartburn turn once again.
He's got the Mercedes DAS system.
Wow, the budget for Skip Barber went way up. Oh, that's Shieldsmith in the 44, and he's just had a bit of a slide through that final chicane. Here's a look at what just happened for the 44.
Yeah, just completely missed the entry into the chicane and paid for it on exit.
And he'll get back rolling, but now has Bob Shoemaker. Actually, I don't think that is Shoemaker. It's somebody else right behind him. That is he's right behind Michael Shea. Sorry, had those cars backwards. It's getting dark out.
I was going to say, you really can't see some of these cars. The folks at home can see, we can't.
Yeah, we got it color corrected a little bit to make it a bit easier to see what's going on. Sean Cromwell now is Lex Kuracek kind of bearing down. They've lost touch with Robert Porter by about a half a second. The draft in this car is worth more than that, but the straightaways here are not all that long with the chicane, so you don't get an enormous draft advantage around here. It's a couple tenths.
Yeah, but it is definitely enough. If you're sitting behind a guy, it's enough to build up a run to make a pass.
And dancing.
Porter still going at it as well as Kuracek, so a 3-way battle for 4th there.
There's Evan Schickel.
Yeah, and Schickel's actually, how many spots has he moved up so far?
He started in 21st, so he's up 14. And back at the front, House Heel had lost Gibson for a bit, but he's tracked him back down. We've got 4 minutes to go here from Charlotte. But we see a pass for the lead. We have not yet so far. Gibson has led every lap of this race.
And slowly in behind these guys is Ryan Maloney, and he's broken away from the rest of the field. So he's sitting in 3rd. If these guys do get together, that 15 car is looking to pick up the pieces, literally.
Might have to. Shieldsmith and Shea into the braking zone for the final chicane.
Back up with our leaders. Nose to tail. I'm curious on how long Ken O'Seal's going to wait. Is he going to wait for the final chicane, back to a chicane, or a lap before?
They're just dancing around that tire barrier on corner exit on turn number 9. Actually, turn 8, rather.
Yeah, if you're Ken O'Seal, what do you do? Do you wait for the last lap? Or?
I don't think you can. I think this racetrack is hard enough to pass that you need to get the job done before then. I just don't know where you do it around here, because it's difficult to pass into the chicanes with those big curbs kind of threatening you every time you go through the corner. So I think you got to get it done, I don't know, probably through the interior of the track somewhere, but even there it's not easy to make the pass.
I think the pass is definitely going to come on the on the oval section of the track. The infield section, I think, is more kind of follow the leader, more or less, unless the car ahead of you makes a mistake, which I doubt with these two guys. But as they come back to the line, it's going to be 2 laps to go.
2 minutes and 40 seconds, about 2 laps worth of time. And Gibson's making a ton of ground on House Heel through that final chicane, but he's being a bit riskier about it. Meanwhile, Evan Schickel has gotten by Kuracek for 6th place, so Kuracek has had a bit of an issue. And is he missing the front wing of that car? Oh, I'm not sure if that's...
No, I think that's definitely...
Oh, it's definitely real. That car is dragging that... And
look at his brakes.
Wow, this is intense damage on the 2 car of Kuracek, and he is having a really hard time contact with the 17 of Boley, and he goes tumbling into the wall, roof first, and damage on the 17 as well. Let's go back and find out what happened to Kuracek. I think this has got to be... Oh, right here. He gets hooked and he's going to understeer straight into the wall.
I've never seen wheel damage like that. As young as this damage model is, I've never seen the wheel bend so far back without breaking off.
And then what happened to Charles Boley after is pretty dramatic. So here's a look, and we'll get a look at Charles Boley as he comes into the frame, and Kuracek's going to try to make turn one, and Boley tries to undercut. And right there, look at this impact. Wow.
The tires
legit. There's some work left to do, I think.
Uh-oh. Oh, okay.
Seals lost a little bit of ground. We're coming back to the white flag this time by, and all, just full disclaimer on the damage model, they did a really good job with it. This is the first time that we've seen it really have issues. The past 5 weeks,
it totally works fine. Everywhere else, I would say that. Yeah. This is a little bit of an anomaly, this track.
Yeah, the curbs here are not normal.
No.
And that's why you're seeing the issues.
But here we go, final lap for these guys. Now, Seal's got a lot of ground to make up in this infield section. If he can get up to the tail of Gibson, by the time they enter back onto the oval, he should be able to be close enough to make a pass. He's definitely...
Gibson's just so good right now. I'm not sure that how Seal's got the ability to get back to him without throwing a dive. Maybe a bit of draft on the back straightaway will set him up for something, but he's got a half a second left to make up.
Closing quite a bit on the infield.
Trouble! Shoemaker hard on the wall at the exit of the chicane, and he's turned up and over.
That's a hard crash.
And on his lid there is Gibson and House-Seal trying to chase each other down. There's Gibson, 4/10 back is House-Seal. He's closing.
Yeah, he's definitely not going to make it here. He's got one more shot on the front stretch, but making up key time.
Thread the needle twice more. How aggressive are you willing to get? And House-Seal's been tiptoeing through here every single lap. I don't think he wants to damage his race car, but now you got to send it. You got one chicane left. You might as well go for it.
Yeah, might as well. Besides third, you got a 10-second gap back to fourth.
Final corners, 16 and 17. Paul Gibson started on pole for this race. He's got one more corner to negotiate to win the first race of the night, and he will. Paul Gibson wins the Roval, round number 1 tonight. Ken House-Seal comes home second. Ryan Maloney in third. Robert Porter is going to hang on for fourth, and Sean Cromwell in the number 1 car will come home in fifth.
Yeah, then all the way from pretty much the back of the pack, Evan Schickel started in 21st, and in style will come across the line in 6th.
David Alessi in the 34 will be 8th. Andrew Chow right ahead of him for 7th. Khalil Latirbov back in 9th. He was actually off track at one point, wasn't he? Oh, that was close.
Oh, almost got an extra position there.
Francois Brou in 10th place. A couple more drivers coming on through to finish this up. But how about a wild race here, Finney? We saw a couple bad accidents towards the end. Shoemaker, one of them. Charles Boley, the other. Lex Kuracek also involved in those collisions. But for the most part, everyone avoided the trouble.
Yeah, it was a lot less carnage than I would have thought at a track like this. Typically, anytime people hear that the roll is on the schedule, a little bit of a shiver goes down some people's spines. But yeah, these guys did a really good job for this race.
So Paul Gibson in the 31, as we take a look, this was the point standings coming into the night. Paul Gibson was 4th in the standings with 97 points. He's almost 30 back from House-Seal and Maloney, but as we walk into race 2, House-Seal will take over the points lead from both Alessandrini and Ryan Maloney, and it'll be House-Seal, Maloney, Gibson in that order as we enter the second race of the night. It's going to be about 5 to 10 minutes from now that we'll come back live, so if you're watching on Facebook, stay with us. We'll be back in a minute. If you're on YouTube, make sure you head on over to the Behind the Stream to hang out with us while we wait for race number 2. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stay with us.
Would you like to have a career in racing, and if so, what would you like to do, Dale?
Well, I want to be a race car driver someday. That's, it's all I've ever known, racing.
What did you want to be when you grew up? So many people live a life of what if. Go to school. Go to college. Get a 9-to-5. This is how we support our dreams. With a safety net because we're unsure about taking a leap of faith, because we're afraid. As we grow, we cross things off our list of dreams. We cut them down, make them realistic. Having control of things is reassuring. But for some, the rush of being out of control is what gives them life. Some say racing cars is reckless. Maybe they're right. Out of bounds isn't just cheating, it's cheating death. Football fields made up in seconds. Decisions made in instants. For the people that climb behind the wheel of these cars, they're not driving it. They become part of it. It's an extension of the body. As a child, I looked up to these people, faces hidden by helmets. The less you saw of the driver, the more believable it became that they were, in fact, just part of the machine. It's easy to forget that inside the cockpit is someone just like us, but with the mindset that fear is a motivation, not a barrier. But the reality is, race car drivers are not like us. They never cross anything off their list of dreams. They just keep writing more. Daytona.
This is the finish of the Daytona 500. Side by side.
Le Mans. Indianapolis. Monaco. Places that used to be just places, now international symbols of victory. To those that enjoy the spectacle of racing, the 2 feet of concrete and steel cables are a wall between us and them, between sitting in the grandstands and standing in victory lane. These same walls are a stark, immovable reminder that racing drivers put their lives on the line for the sake of the thrill and entertainment. Despite the risk, despite the heartbreak,
Oh my gosh!
despite the cost. There are some on the sidelines who are fascinated by the danger. They are fascinated by speed, fascinated by the undying desire to be just a little bit better. Their dreams erased by geography, finances, or the lack of a famous last name. There are some who once wished to be a race car driver, but aren't, because they didn't get the chance. And they thought they'd spend the rest of their lives watching their heroes on television, or from the other side of the fence. They thought it was impossible to climb into a race car, so they crossed it off their list. But it's not impossible. There is a ticket to the other side of the fence. For those who want it bad enough, this is your chance.
Lights are on here at the Charlotte Roval for the Washington, D.C. Region SCCA iRacing League for the second race of the 6th round of the season. And we've only got one more points paying round after this, Finney. And race 1 kind of mixed things up. We saw Ken O'Seal come home in second, and he's actually going to take over the points lead as it stands, away from what would have been Ryan Maloney. So, still a very close race at the front of the field in the points, but we're going to head into race number 2. It's a 20-minute event. We saw limited carnage in race 1, but what did we learn between race 1 and race 2? What are you going to do different this time if you're anybody other than race winner Paul Gibson?
I think some guys might, definitely reevaluate, looking at the chicane, how to kind of tackle it. Especially because I think a lot of guys either A, got damage from the chicane, either taking it too aggressively, or getting into other drivers too in the chicane while they were making passes. So I think there's a bit of a learning experience. Obviously, you can only get so much practice in race conditions, racing situations during practice. So really, the race is kind of where you, especially as far as making passes, I think the chicanes are probably one of the only real viable places to make passes around here. So I think a little bit more experience with that. I think we're due to see a little bit less carnage.
So, the troublesome spot, I thought, was the final corner and the front straightaway. I don't think we saw a whole lot of incidents. We saw the 2 that's being driven by Lex Kurchek. He was really the only driver I saw that had a major incident down here in the back straightaway.
Yeah, the back one hasn't been too bad, but yeah, definitely the front one has claimed a few more cars.
And looking at Mark Labance from up in the sky into the back straightaway chicane, and you can see they just kind of thread the needle and comes out.
Yes,
on corner exit.
There's an update for the points. We don't obviously have it listed in our scoring system, but officially, as they go into this race, Ken O'Seal has 143 points to Maloney's 142, so only separated by 1 point. And obviously, Alex Jr. going to stay at the same 134 and going to potentially continue to drop a little bit further on back.
So 2 minutes left in warm-up here. Let's talk about the drivers that had some trouble in race number 1. One of those drivers was Max King. Never really got to the front of the field at his number 139, but we know he's quick. So what's the goal for him? I mean, you're going to be starting at the tail of the field. How aggressive are you on the start, and how long do you wait before you start to charge forward and make passes?
Honestly, I would say try to pass as many cars within reason as soon as you can. Definitely don't throw your car into every situation. Kind of have to evaluate, how it's going to play out for you. Especially, obviously, the start's chaotic, but I feel like for a lot of guys, that might be their best chance to make up a lot of position when the field's all close together. We saw these guys spread out quite a bit. I mean, between the top 10, I think it was like 30 seconds by the end of the race. So definitely, I think if you can, pass as many cars as possible.
Also, the darkness is right on board again as we see the Paul Gibson machine go off wide.
We'll want to turn that off too.
Yeah, so this, I have it color corrected right now, but if we turn our normal color correction back on, that's how dark it is out there right now. It's very difficult to see what's going on. So, in race 2, do you think this is going to be a problem, or do you think drivers have kind of adjusted to it by now?
I think they probably adjusted to it now. I think really what we're going to see out of this as a result, I think guys will just be slightly more cautious and really might not even bother making a move until they really get back on the field and you see how much, significantly how much more light is there.
So we're riding a motor seal with Max King, who's just gone 7th quick in the warm-up period. You know what's I think is a great driver that's going to probably get up there and compete for the win here is Evan Schickel. He started in 21st, ended up finishing, I believe, in 6th place. So he'll be starting inside the top 10 for this event, and I'm liking how he's looking in warm-up as well.
I don't quite remember what his fastest lap was in the last race, but I mean, he was able to keep within a decent pace, and again, working through all that traffic, he was still decently close to the leaders by the end of it, so might have something to say here, potentially in the top 3, even for the win. By the end of this.
Warm-up is concluding, and it's time to go racing for the second time tonight. The lights are on, the stars are out, and they're on the racetrack right now. Ken O'Seal and Paul Gibson will be starting on the front row this evening for race number 2. It'll be a 20-minute race this time. That means 5 more minutes that you got to keep the fenders, or really the tires, on the race car and keep the wings on the car as well. So we'll head down to the racetrack, and I believe we'll have a standing start for this one as well.
Yeah, I was going to actually just say, yep, we're going to have a standing one.
So standing start for race number 2 tonight. So that's going to certainly change the dynamics of the first lap of this because you don't have a chance to warm up the tires.
Yeah, and that also, really the first, I would say 10 cars are not really going to be too affected. Everyone else, as you can see, guys are lining up in the middle of the chicane.
Challenging place to start. That's the price of doing business here at the Roval. So, waiting for the green flag to drop, waiting on Shea and Moeller to get lined up for the grid. And conditions for this race as the clock ticks another hour closer to midnight. 68 degrees in the air, 70 on the racetrack, a hair cooler than it was in race number 1. And we've got one driver left to jump on the grid. That's the 49 of Steve Moeller.
And once he gets on the grid, we'll get ready to set 25 cars loose at the Charlotte Roval.
Here we go. Time to go racing. 20 minutes on the board. Skip Barber for the DC Region SCCA iRacing League. Gibson and Houseel going to lead us to the green. Green flag flies, and we're racing again at the Charlotte Roval. Schickel out a little bit wide in turn 1, but I think he's going to hang on to it. And a little bit cleaner start than we had last time. We did have the 11 of Ito Waxman go for a ride down in turn 1 in race 1.
Yeah, so we avoided it for this race as Schickel was fighting with Cromwell for that spot. Wasn't able to get on by. You can see a little bit of carnage down in turn 3.
That's Charles Boley. He was actually one of the drivers that was a victim earlier. Oh, Evan Schickel spun out. And he's crashed. Evan Schickel, with a promising start to this one, is torn up. And here's how it happened. It's on the inside of the 15 of Cromwell, and I think what's just going to happen, he just caught the curb and it looped him around. Caught the sausage curb, and that's all it took. And then got hit at the very end of this, but it's a disappointing end of the night for Evan Schickel. Up at the front, Gibson and Houseel. First and second, Houseel came up just shy of the victory in race 1. I don't think he wants to make that same mistake all over Gibson as they enter this back straightaway chicane for the first time.
And on their way through is not only them, but the rest of the field going to make it down. Ooh, a little bit of side-by-side action. That Oreo car got a little bit hot in there. That is Andrew Chow, I believe.
Yeah, that's nope, yeah, you're right. Andrew Chow on the 29. David Alessi on the inside. That's the orange and gray car.
These guys are side-by-side into the last chicane on entry, and they're going to be side-by-side into this one on the front straightaway, as neither driver is going to yield.
Here we go. Final chicane for the first time. And the 34, David Alessi, wow, slips around the outside and hangs onto the spot for 6th.
Up for the lead, Houseel and Gibson going side by side. Houseel trying to take the lead away, going to cut the nose off of Gibson and going to maintain the spot.
Great pass down in turn 1 for Houseel. He's gotten past Paul Gibson, but we were far from over. Lex Kuracek hitting pit lane, possibly with damage. And Gibson trying to get the spot back. Andrew Chow's gone around. And in probably a bad spot, judging on where he crashed. And we'll take a quick look. He's already reset to the pits. Oh, did he go off the bumper or somebody?
Yeah, I think he did.
Oh, he was already loose, and I think it was Khalil Natirov.
Or, sorry, no, yeah, Natirov.
And, oh, he bobbled. I think he was already crashing in the process of it and just got helped around. Oh, Shoemaker and others have also gotten around. Labance and Shoemaker. Shoemaker might be all right. Charles Boley again. Trouble that he's had. Just looped it. There's 2 separate spins. Back up at the front, Gibson chasing Houseel into the chicane.
Yeah, I think this is a little bit due to what we're seeing is a little bit due to the fact that these guys didn't really have the chance to warm up their tires. As they did in the first race with a pace lap, they went pretty much start on dead cold tires and are kind of dealing with the repercussions of it. But yeah, Ryan Maloney sticking in with the top 3. He fell off the pace in race 1. He fell in behind these guys, was just by himself in 3rd place. Now he's got a shot at getting the lead.
Yeah, he's closed up on Gibson, and tire goes flying, but Houseel will continue. And we're almost 5 minutes into this one, and the battle for the lead is still heating up. Behind him, oh, Shea looped it at the exit of the final chicane.
Yeah, he's got some damage.
And he was on the inside of the 69 of Brew, and Brew actually had to cut the chicane to avoid that. There was another car stopped there. Let's see who that was, but carry on. Houseel starting to build a gap on Gibson. Maloney's closing in on the 31. So I don't know if Paul just has lost some pace or what, but Houseel doesn't seem to be held up so much. He's just driving away.
Yeah, remember, we didn't really get to see Houseel on the lead in the last race. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was Gibson that led every single lap.
Correct.
So now with Houseel in clean air, he can really show what pace he has. And now we're starting to see it as he's starting to pull away from Gibson, which is really impressive.
Great battle here midfield. Chris Shieldsmith on the, that's the 044 on the inside lane. Waxman on the outside as they come up onto the NASCAR oval, and Thomas Sadiq had to take an evasive maneuver there not to run into the back.
Yeah, Waxman almost went into the wall coming off the oval.
Right behind, that is the 139 of Max King. Will ride on board of them as they approach the back straight chicane. Bit of a stack up in front of him. I think that's Brew. Oh, in the 69. That's slowed up the drivers in front of him. Shieldsmith loose, and the 19 and 25 have to scatter on corner exit to avoid a collision. And here comes King up the inside.
Ooh.
And down on the apron. I'm not sure if that's allowed because we haven't seen it yet, but I didn't see a rule against it. So
I imagine they would have told him not to use it.
Oh, contact Shieldsmith and 19 get together. More contact, and there goes the 044, and he's crashed out. And so is Sadiq. He's already got damage on that car as well.
3 wide in an open wheel car is absolutely not working to these chicanes here.
No, here's another look. If you're in a stock car, you might be able to make it work, but there's too many people in too small of a place. And the 139 of Max King, I think he's got some nose damage on. Oh, maybe not. Was able to avoid collision. But he looked like he ran over a piece of debris, so he got away with that one.
He hit a wheel, and yeah, like you said, he did get away with it. I thought that would have been permanent, but going to continue on like nothing happened.
Francois Brew has some nose damage on that car. He's got the nose cone missing. That's typically what happens when you run over a curb a bit too hard or get in the back of somebody. He's got Louis Alessi behind him in the 43, closing the gap.
Yeah, Alessi's going to have a decent run on him, right up close behind him. You can see how much pull he's going to get. He's going to work to the outside of Brew now. Wow. I think it's going to be a challenge.
Yeah, Brew's got significant straightaway disadvantage right now with that missing nose cone. Into the braking zone. Alessi. Oh, Waxman behind. That's not going to work side by side. Oh, Waxman has to take an evasive maneuver over the edge of the sausage curb, and he should be able to continue, but you don't want to get yourself in a situation where you have to run over those curbs because they hurt.
Yeah, they definitely do hurt. And they'll actually give you suspension damage, but here comes 25. Another big run to the outside of him.
Yeah, Brew's really hurting on the straightaway speed right now, and Waxman will be able to complete the pass that time.
Yeah, almost 7-mile-an-hour difference for Brew.
Tires everywhere.
Popcorn.
Oh, Max King is crashed, and that time for real. Tires, you get a tire, everybody gets a tire. And curb jump for Max King into the wall.
There's a part of me deep down that almost doesn't want him to change this.
It is pretty entertaining. Battle for the lead, House Seal, Gibson, Maloney, top 3, and they've got lap traffic coming up.
Yeah, this is something we didn't see in the first race be a factor at all. And it looks like it's not going to be a factor at least for now. I believe that's Schickel actually that's letting the drivers by.
Yeah, again, he was damaged early in the race and letting the leaders on by. Almost halfway through this event, and Paul Gibson has closed the gap. It was 0.8 of a second. Now it's back down to 3.
Yeah, and remember, Maloney's still sitting there in 3rd place. It's very well a 3-car battle for the lead, 1, 2, 3. And then behind them is Sean Cromwell in behind, 4 seconds back.
And James Hauser in the 75, Kalun Latierboff, Michael Shea, Louis Alessi, Ido Waxman, and Francois Brew, your top 10. Moeller and Max King, they're running 11th and 12th, and I'm not sure how much damage King has.
Looks like he's picked up some nose damage, legitimate nose damage, and wing damage as well.
Yeah, he hit the wall. He was the driver that hit the fence at the exit of the chicane. We expected that. Meanwhile, for second, Maloney is there on Gibson, but going to stay in line. I think they want to work together to try to get by House Seal. But we saw in race 1 how difficult it was to make a pass on the leader.
Ido Waxman to the inside. Gonna get past Louis Alessi. Oh, not done yet.
Oh,
wow,
man, that was dicey for a moment. I don't think we're out of this yet. Waxman was all sorts of sideways through turn 2. And Waxman finished the pass off. That's 8th place, changing hands.
It was a lot more entertaining than I think either driver would have liked.
I think that's certainly true. Moeller and King still 11th and 12th, nose to tail. Oh man, that was a big curb strike that time for the 49. You can hear the car bottom out, and typically if you hear the carbon fiber, and he just swung to the end. Oh, Mahler's got, I don't know if he's got damage or not, but he was real slow.
I think he just swung out too wide. That's the problem with that section. You have to go from the left side of the track to the right, back to the left, and swing back with the momentum. But unfortunately, he wasn't able to swing back. He opened the door up for Max King.
Really using the apron to his advantage there, but you see how much it kills you on the straightaway. Again, he's also missing that nose cone, so that could be a factor.
Definitely not doing him any favors down into the chicane. Filling up a train of cars in behind. There's Muller,
Sadiq sideways.
Porter, Shieldsmith.
A big line of cars. That's 12th through least 14th. That's Shield Smith in 15th. Sadiq and Muller side by side, and 19 will clear that, as will the 136 of Porter into the chicane the last time. Sadiq is just chucking the... Oh, contact behind him, Muller and the... Let's see what car that is.
Muller and Chow.
Chow, thank you, in the Oreo car. Making contact, and again, this was a pretty significant crash.
Not sure what happened there.
Another look. Oh, the 49 jumped on the brakes to miss the crash that was about to happen and ended up getting himself in another crash, so didn't work out for Chow. He's destroyed again. 10 minutes to go. Sadiq and Porter, 12th and 13th.
These guys have just been throwing these cars into the corners, especially Sadiq. You can hear the tires screaming for grip.
Up onto the banking. We haven't really seen this be quite long enough to be able to swing out and make a pass down here on draft alone. You see all these cars that are missing the front nose on the car, really struggling in the straight line.
Yeah, it's usually enough for them to get alongside.
Whoa!
Whoa, Porter, evasive maneuver, was trying to make an evasive maneuver on Max King. And backed off just in time.
Yeah, let's right on board with Robert Porter as he had to work with Max King kind of making a swerving maneuver there. Let's right on board. Here it is.
That's just due to the significant closing rate.
I thought about diving to the inside and just ran out of time.
And that really just shows you, obviously, again, there is some draft involved as well, but how much just missing that nose cone is costing Max King on the straightaways.
It's not helping the car by jumping them curbs either. He's got big damage on the front wing. You see it vibrating. The attachment points are quite weak right now.
Thing's about to fall off if he takes the curbs any more aggressively.
You have to be aggressive to make speed around here, but there's certainly an area where it drops off. And
you don't want to break the car, Samir.
Samir, you're breaking the car. Shea and Tierboff, this is a battle for 7th. See, whoa, behind him, that's Louis Alessi. Got real tight to the barrier on corner exit.
Yeah, flirting with that outside wall.
Steve Muller has hit pit lane in his 49 to fix crash damage on that car. Up at the front of the field, it's still 0.2 of a second between Gibson and Hauseal.
Yeah, Maloney's started to drift a little bit back out of the draft, but still very much in it, more so than he was in race number 1.
And you see these front drivers, how much less aggressive they're being on these apexes. They're not jumping every 5 seconds. They're being very conservative with how they're approaching this.
And that's why if you look at these cars, they're pretty much brand new, not a single ounce of damage to them on the front parts. And you can see as you look further back down the field, the guys who have definitely been abusing the machinery.
I know one guy that we can certainly look at to find an abused front wing, and that would be Max King, who's been working with whatever he's got. That car looks like it's been to a junkyard and back a couple times.
Looks like more than missing the right front. But he's keeping in right in behind Robert Porter.
Charles Boley real slow exiting the chicane. He's got damage. Ooh. Here's a look at what happened to him. Broke it on the curbs and spun out.
Wow, he broke. Oh, okay.
Just the left rear. That's all it took for Boley to have to come in and serve some damage repair on that race car. Ken Hauseal continues to lead, but Paul Gibson is very... Uh-oh, he dropped out for a moment.
And he's back now. Yeah, you can see Gibson here. I'm curious what Gibson's going to have up his sleeve. I imagine if we came down to really... You saw Ken Hauseal being a little bit too patient in race number 1 to make a pass. Imagine Gibson's going to definitely be more aggressive. I would say he's more aggressive between these two.
Hauseal a little bit wide on corner entry, but he kind of swings out pretty quickly. Now Maloney's closed up on Gibson, and this is where Gibson was stronger than Hauseal in race number 1, but the roles have reversed, and Gibson is a touch slower through that final chicane.
And Gibson, nice line through turn 1 for him, trying to get back to the back of Hauseal.
Meanwhile, Cromwell hits pit lane. Damage on that car.
Yeah, on the right front. That suspension next to destroyed.
I'm gonna take a guess that this was... Oh, here, yep. This is what happened to me in practice the other day. Here's a look at what happened to Sean Cromwell. That's what happened to me. Told you.
He's not going to be too happy with that.
No. They're losing touch with House and I don't think they're going to be able to catch him.
That's what I was thinking a little bit earlier, but they're, again, just barely enough within pace. If they start dropping a little bit more, then yeah, I would say this is almost said and done, but Gibson now starting to make back up some ground on the straightaways.
On aboard the nose cam here with Ryan Maloney. Wrong graphics, sorry. Woo, that got tight to the wall. He's been a lot more aggressive on the exit of that back straight chicane, getting tight to the wall.
So making it work, hasn't bit him yet. And you can see these guys right back pretty much along with the 2030. Let's see too how close of line Maloney's taking to the grass, or I should say artificial turf, down into the final chicane.
That's actually a really important point. So this final chicane, the grass here is not grass, it's turf. Now, that being said, it's got a grip level that's fairly similar to asphalt in a lot of different ways. So when you track into that final chicane, you can actually use a little bit of the turf on driver's left to help your car straighten out, because the entry's curved. So if you can straighten out that braking zone, you can be a lot quicker. And I think some drivers have kind of started to use that turf to help themselves out. Great three-way battle for the lead with 4 minutes remaining.
Yeah, I'm curious what now Maloney has got a different task over Gibson. Gibson really just has to get past Houseel. Maloney, meanwhile, has to get past 2 cars, so he's gonna have to make his charge a little bit earlier than Gibson does.
Sean Cromwell has returned to the racetrack. He is now in 12th. Nice quick pit stop to fix the damage on that car. No other immediate battles on the racetrack other than the small one between Natirbov, Shea, and Alessi for 6th. For the lead, it's the close one.
Yeah, really close nose to tail. I think it's about to start heating up here. When they get back to the line, it's going to be 3 laps to go. Actually, it
might be 2 laps to go. It's going to be pretty close.
Our estimation is showing that it's going to be 3.
3 minutes 20. Oh, it's going to be real tight. Depends on how these last couple laps run for these guys.
Oh, it's going to be
3.7.
No, I think it'll be 3 laps, but by 3 seconds at the line.
Yep. And they might slow down if they start to battle as well. Lewis Alessi, Shea, they're fighting for position for 7th on NASCAR Turn 2.
You see Shea looking out to the outside, trying to get a run, but obviously without any sort of draft, it kind of ruins the momentum.
NASCAR Turn 4, rather, to the wrong end of the racetrack. And Natirbov a little bit wide, and there goes Alessi way outside, and Shea trying to figure out where to go while all the pieces start to scatter.
Yeah, Alessi is trying to make a move on Natirbov. Is going to bite him, as now Shea's going to try to work on pass. And he gets past.
Great battle here for 6th. Looks like Shea's alongside Natirbov as they head to turn 5, and he's there. Will clear Natirbov before 6 and 7.
Yeah, one of the few passes we've seen in the infield.
And Lewis Alessi on the outside. He's going to try to cross over. This is a very difficult spot to make a pass, almost impossible here.
Yeah, and you really have to be careful too with that wall on the right side, and even the wall here on this right side coming back onto the oval. Seeing guys, especially Lewis Alessi, flirt with that.
Max King and Sean Cromwell fighting for position. King with that damage on that front nose. He has not come in to fix that car. Sean Cromwell has come down pit lane. Now, looks like Cromwell will be able to just drive by Max King on the straightaway. Meanwhile, for the lead, 2 laps to go this time by Houseel and Gibson, nose to tail.
And Maloney started to trickle out of this, and Maloney needs to get at least past Gibson this lap by. Otherwise, he's effectively got no shot at winning this race, although I think he's kind of fine at the moment, just kind of sitting in 3rd.
Again, in the points-paying picture, the battle is really between Houseel and Maloney.
Yeah, and they're separated currently, before this race started, by 1 point. If Houseel wins, it's going to separate out by a little bit, but it's still going to be fairly close between them.
And there's only one more round of this, so next week we'll actually be at Mid-Ohio with the GT4 and TCR machinery. So look forward to that next week. But as it comes to these cars, we'll only have one more points-paying round, and that will be, I don't even know what track we're at for that off the top of my head. We'll have Finian look that up. But there's only one round left after this, so we're going to have only a 2 or 3 point difference between these two if this night finishes as is.
And we are going to be at... Second.
Oh, New Jersey Motorsports Park. That's right. The Tierboff and Alessi for 7th place. Michael Shea's gotten by both these drivers.
Yeah, Alessi trying to build up a run on a Tierboff here.
17 seconds left for the lead. Gibson, big dive out on Halseal. Side by side, Halseal gets run up the course. Here comes Maloney. Points implications with that maneuver, and Maloney goes second quick. White flag in the air.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting him to do it this time, but pleasant surprise there, and Halseal in one corner is going to go from first back to third.
Yeah, here's how it all got set up, and Gibson just got to the outside and made the pass.
Yeah,
and
chucked it in there.
And used up Halseal a little bit on corner exit, but we're not done quite yet.
Definitely not. I think Halseal might be. He's got damage to his right front wing after contact with Gibson, so he might be a little bit out of this.
Will Maloney take a dive? Is it worth the risk? They will probably walk out of here tied in the standings if he doesn't take this risk, but he might.
He might want to. The opportunity's presented itself, and if there's an opportunity, might as well take it.
Some lap traffic ahead. We'll see if they yield. Half a lap to go for Gibson, Maloney, and Halseal.
Gibson's hoping they don't yield because actually this is going to help him out a little bit, give him a little bit of a draft that Maloney won't be able to quite catch up on him. And you can see that kind of stabilizing, but here he goes.
Into the braking zone for the chicane on the back straightaway. Maloney closes right up. He's going to set himself up for one last opportunity to pass. He didn't get a very good run out of the final corner, but the draft might make that point moot. Here we go.
Yeah, lap car up ahead. Not sure they'll catch him or if that car's going to get out of the way.
Maloney's going to have a dive. Here we go. Battle for the lead at Charlotte Roval. The DC Region SCCA iRacing League, the penultimate round of the points-paying races. Maloney to the inside. Dive on the brakes in the final chicane. Crossover by Gibson over the curbs. And they're going to come to the checkers, and it'll be Ryan Maloney with an excellent last lap pass.
Props to him on that. That was a fantastic maneuver on Gibson in the final corner.
Great passes. Michael Shea. The Tierboff and Alessi are still working their way around. The Tierboff and Alessi fighting as the fireworks go off in the background.
Yeah, waiting to see who's going to win this fight. Well, we see a similar maneuver here. Comes the 43 with a run. Is he going to send it into the corner like we saw with Gibson?
No, it looks like he'll just ride in line here. Shea, Tierboff, and Alessi. Look from up above as the rest of the field comes across the line. The fireworks exploding.
Yeah, I think that might be the best shot you're going to get of it, unfortunately.
I was trying to get a cool shot of the fireworks, but now I need a firework cam, Finian.
I'm sorry. I thought that would have been more like on the middle part of the backstretch, but
I thought so too. Well, race complete. What a race that was. And we'll go back and look at that. Just stay put. Really wanted to get those fireworks.
Yeah.
Work
Actually, if you...
do
you show up in replays?
That's a good question. We're going to go back and look at the finish regardless and catch what happened to Ryan Maloney, Paul Gibson, and Ken Halseal as they came through for the finish. So Maloney just did a really good job setting up this finish. And he's going to swing to driver's right. He just saw what Gibson did to Halseal last lap and did the exact same thing to him.
Yeah, great move there. Side by side immediately. And just going to outbreak the 31.
Well, Halseal just was fully intentioned on just sending it in there and came across the line, dragging the rear end of that car. But what a pass by Maloney. Another look. Wow. Parts and pieces flying as they came across the line.
Yeah, as the 31 and the 23 gave no care to track limits. It's completely went over the curbs trying to get to the 22.
Okay, here's what we're going to do.
I was going to say, if you speed up the camera.
That's what I'm going to do, Finian. You got it. I want to get the... There we go. They are on the back straightaway.
Shot.
There. Well, with those in the background, how about we take a look at the race results?
Oh, that's awesome.
Maybe not that way. Let's do it this way. What a race. Oh, come on.
Yeah, Ryan Maloney taking a surprise win here. We definitely knew he was going to finish in the top three. Wasn't sure what order, but was able to get past Halseal the lap before and then Gibson in the final corner. This is really going to be a good points-paying position for him. And in fact, it might actually give him the lead. We'll try to see if it updates before we're done with interviews.
It just might. We're going to talk to him and Ken Halseal here actually Paul Gibson momentarily, so stay with us. We'll be back in just a few minutes. 3 lead changes in that race, a bit more from race 1. We'll stick around. We'll talk to your race winner and more. Be right back. Welcome back live to Sim TV in the DC Region SCCA iRacing League. We're here now with Paul Gibson, who finished second in race number 2. But Paul, talk to us about that finish, because you had set Ken Ausil up for a great pass with 2 laps to go, and then coming back to the checkers, it was Ryan Maloney that got the job done on you. Was there anything you could have done to prevent that pass, or was it pretty much game over?
No, it's pretty much game over unless you really kind of start tangling up with each other. So, yeah, I did. I pulled that on Ken, and then Ryan did the exact same thing to me a lap later. It was pretty.
Race number 1, you did win earlier tonight, though, and it seemed like it was pretty challenging to make passes. Other than that back straightaway or the front straightaway chicane where you ended up making the pass on Ausil in race 2, where do you think was the best place to pass tonight? Because it looked pretty tricky.
It really is hard to pass there. In practice, I didn't really notice that until we got into the race, and it's like with a draft, you kind of close up on someone and you're back a tenth or two bit too far to really kind of dive bomb them. So, I just, it's like if the straightaways were like 50 yards or 100 yards longer, it'd be a lot easier. But yeah, it was tough though.
So in the points right now, you've got 144 points. You're about 20 back from Ausil and Ryan Maloney. When you look ahead to the last round of the season at New Jersey Motorsports Park, I mean, is it just race wins, or is there still a hope or a glimmer of hope in the back of your mind that maybe they'll have a bad night at New Jersey and you'll get the championship?
I'm actually going to be traveling for work, so I won't be taking part in it most likely.
Oh, never mind then. Paul, hey, congratulations on the race win and the second place tonight. Really strong runs. We'll talk to you later. Have a good night.
All right, cool. Thanks, guys.
Absolutely. Going to move on now to, I hope we got Ryan Maloney. And it looks like we will have Ryan Maloney this evening. Hey, Ryan, you got a copy?
Yes.
Hey, Ryan. Well, welcome to the booth, and congratulations on your race win. An excellent last lap, last corner pass. Ran third most of the night. Just walk us through the sizing up Gibson, and was his pass on Ausil the lap before kind of the inspiration for that move?
Yeah, I was kind of just following in line. Didn't really think I had too much for him. Couldn't really pull up until later on in the race, and kind of just worked out perfectly. I went from third to second on that 2 laps to go, and then coming to the checker to just put it in there and ended up sticking.
This racetrack tonight was incredibly challenging to avoid all the curbs and all the carnage. What was it like having to dodge parts and pieces and other race cars out there? And how challenging was that at the Charlotte Roval?
Yeah, it was definitely something new. I mean, you don't usually have parts flying at you, but up front it really wasn't too bad. We were mostly staying off the curbs, and I had one time where it looked like Ken spun in front of us, but he just kept on going. So, yeah, just an added feature to it.
And it looks like you're leading the points over Ken Ausil by 4 as we head into, we got, of course, the GT4 cars next week, but the week after will be at New Jersey Motorsports Park. What's the plan to go in there to win the championship? Is it just beat Ken Ausil, or is it just you're going to try to run as good as you can and everything else will take care of itself?
Try to run as good as I can. I mean, definitely, I don't know how it's all going to work out with the drops and everything, but definitely want to try to beat Ken. Yeah,
All right.
that's about it. Run as clean as I can.
Hey, that's a good plan, Ryan. Hey, congratulations on that race win. We'll look forward to seeing you next week and the week after. Good luck. We'll talk to you later.
Yep, thank you.
Absolutely. That's going to do it for the interviews tonight, Finney, and both race winners, race 1 and race 2. Super entertaining racetrack. I always love watching cars jump around here. Damage model situation was a little silly tonight, but of course, this is the first time that's happened, really. It's a pretty extreme case as well. So the bugs getting sorted out there, but all in all, pretty entertaining night.
Yeah, pretty solid race from these guys, too, all things considered. There could have been a lot more chaotic, but a lot of guys kept it on the racetrack going in the right direction. Some pretty entertaining moves and passes, especially in the final few laps of race 2.
So next week, we will not be in the Skip Barber cars. It'll be a non-points race at Mid-Ohio with the GT4 and TCR cars. So make sure you're here next week on the DC Region SCCA Facebook page or right here on YouTube on SimTV. If you've not yet subscribed, please make sure you do so. And the week after that will be the season finale of the Spring DC Region SCCA iRacing League Series. And that will be at New Jersey Motorsports Park with the Skip Barber. Thank you so much for watching and have a spectacular night. We'll see you tomorrow for Scars Ferrari Challenge at 8:30.